And we're live. Welcome to episode 2 of This Week in the Grotto. And today, the title of our podcast is Living Your Best Life is Making You Miserable. And as funny as it may seem, Joe and I have been talking about this particular topic for seems like a while now. I know it's been bouncing around in my head for a couple years now. And it just seems the idea of it seems to be getting more and more amplified on a monthly basis, to the point where Jill and I thought this might be a good topic for us to address. But before we do that, we do have some announcements that we wanted to get to. I know Jill has been working very hard on an upcoming event at the Grotto. Why don't you tell them about what you got coming up next week, Joe?
So next Saturday, we are going to be doing a wellness retreat called Refresh, Reset, and Reconnect. The idea is basically in going into the new year, especially after the holidays, when people have been kind of in a constant hustle mode and, that feeling of overwhelm just mentally and physically. On that end, the idea with this is to basically refresh, reset, and also to make some new connections with some people who are like-minded and maybe looking for some positive changes in their lives. We have a series of quite a few different speakers, actually. One will be focusing on energy and meditation. We have an intuition speaker that I actually did. She offers basically like a little trial where she talks to you. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I also know we have somebody going to be talking about connection and basically just the connections that you have and meeting new people. And then actually Maureen from You Evolve that runs our kettlebell amped class and boot camp class is going to be doing an empowerment discussion. So there's going to be that. We have somebody that will be there with a Reiki table, a psychic. We have somebody doing massage, and I'm actually going to be running a 30-minute workout within that as well. We have some other people there with chemical and toxin-free products, Young Living, Arbonne, Norwex. So it's going to be a pretty great day. I'm really excited. That is going to be on Saturday, January 18th. We're going to be running it from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you get 4 hours. We'll be there hanging out and having the opportunity to listen to these speakers come in. And, you get your workout. We were going to be doing an opportunity so everybody gets almost like a mini session with one of either the Reiki, psychic, or massage, so they can get an idea of the services that they provide as well. So that's that. It's $49 for the 4 hours. This is our first one, so we're very excited about it and looking forward to seeing how amazing this is and everybody there on Saturday.
How do people sign up for that?
So if you go to Linktree, linktr.ee / You Evolve Buffalo with no spaces, that will actually take you to where you can purchase that. And it's right at the top. You can click the little button and it'll direct you to a PayPal link. So that can be found there. It is on our Facebook page as an event, and it's also on our website, www.youevolvebuffalo.com.
Okay, sounds easy enough for people to find. Should be a good day. I also know you've been, as always, working monthly on the You Give Buffalo project. Do you guys have anything coming up with that?
We do. So for the month of January, we're actually working with the Family Justice Center in Buffalo. And basically what we are going to be doing for the month of January, we're going to start, the collection is going to run from January 19th until January 31st. and what they are looking for. Sorry, I just want to make sure I have a decent full list in case I forget anything. Basically, we're going to be doing collections for their essential need pantry. That's shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrushes, body wash, soap, contact lens fluid, hair dye even, feminine care items, baby wipes, diapers, and those kinds of things. They're also looking for individually wrapped snacks, grocery and gas cards that are in smaller increments like $10, $15, and things along those lines. So we'll be collecting those items for anybody who might be interested in donating those from the 19th to the 31st. And then also on Friday, January 31st, I'm going to be running a boot camp at 6 p.m. All of the proceeds that we collect are going to go to the Family Justice Center as well to help support their cause and helping women and their children escape situations of domestic violence.
Sounds like a great cause.
Yep.
We have an announcement for we started our lean program, started last week. We're 1 week complete in lifestyle, exercise, and nutrition. And as part of that program, we were encouraging participation from all of our members, and we had a little system put in place where we have 3 representatives from each of our lean program groups that on a weekly basis, we randomly draw them. They keep track of how many times they train at the grotto. The group who has come in the most makes their lean program group eligible for a $50 Visa gift card. And our first week winner comes from my Saturday 8:30 a.m. group. And the winner is Mallory Reed Finnegan. I almost always forget the Finnegan part. I always call him Reed. But Mallory Finnegan is the winner. So tomorrow she'll get her Visa gift card. And we are randomly drawing 3 new people from each group. And we'll be giving out another Visa gift card every week for 8 weeks. We'll be giving them out.
That Saturday 8:30 a.m. group, they really brought it this week. They ended up between the 3 of them, collecting like 17 points. So going off that point system, they ended up collecting 17 points between the 3 of them, which was the next closest one was, I believe my Saturday 7:30, and I think that they had 11. So it was a pretty solid sweep by that 8:30 group.
Yeah, no doubt. They were highly motivated, especially that
Katie Maddie.
Yeah, I put a little prize in front of them, and they work extra hard. So
yeah.
So now the point is, if they worked really hard for the group, Mallory is obviously being rewarded with that. So whoever is picked this week, you're going to want to work just as hard to try to, make yourself eligible. So maybe somebody else in that group can reap the benefits. But that's exciting. We'll be doing that for 8 weeks, and then at the end, the group that ends up getting the total, has the most total exposures at the grotto after the 8 weeks, gets to design a tank top that they can personalize and as a group, and we're going to get that for them too. So that'll be a nice little prize at the end for them as well. We are also, both Jill and I are doing weekly live chats on Facebook on our You Evolve Buffalo business page. I go live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And Jill, you're doing Monday nights?
Yeah, Monday at 8.
Monday at 8 p.m. We both had some really good chats this week. You covered all of our classes, giving reviews. I did an hour on the ketogenic diet on Wednesday, and a really great response. A lot of people sent questions in advance that they wanted covered. We had a great live chat going, covered a lot of questions on the live chat.
Yeah, that's always fun when you get the engagement in the chat too. I think that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeps you on your toes too. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. It was sometimes a little hard for me because I'm doing it on my phone to scroll and read comments and hit the more button, but it all worked out pretty well. I know I'm going to be covering this Wednesday. I'm going to be talking about fasting and intermittent fasting. So again, if anybody has any questions, if you send them to me in advance, it usually works out a little better because I can, if I need to, I can dig into a little research and make sure that I get you the proper information rather than me just trying to, freewheel it on the fly. But it's no big deal either way. So that I'll be covering on Wednesday. We're also, last thing, leave us a review on Facebook. And every week we're going to pick our favorite review, one of our favorite reviews, and we will send you a You Evolve Buffalo keychain. You can either pick it up at the grotto or I'll mail it out to you. So if you already left us a review, no big deal. You're still eligible. We're just going to go through the reviews and pick our favorite each week. If you haven't left us a review, just go over to the You Evolve Buffalo Facebook page, leave us a review, especially on the on this podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the You Evolve Buffalo YouTube page. Hit the notification bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. Things that you would want covered, any questions you might have, and we'd absolutely love your feedback going forward with the podcast. We want to try to customize it to you, the listener. That's all.
And not just force you to listen to what we want to talk about.
Yeah. Either way, we're going to be here weekly, so we can do it the hard way or we can do it the easy way. You decide. Anything else, Joe, before we get on to the topic of the day?
No. Let's
get into it.
Let's go.
Yeah, we do have a lot of cool stuff coming up, but we'll just kind of, as the news gets solidified, we'll let that out to you guys. But living your best life is making you miserable. This is definitely, and even just the name of the podcast, Joe and I were going back and forth a little between the expression of living your best life and YOLO. You only live once. But it seems that you're living your best life is really trending lately. And
the hashtag world.
Yeah, I tend to see this term often being used in what the people are doing, how they're living their best life, not all the time, but oftentimes is in a way that I can't help but to think to myself, this is what you're doing is going to end up biting you in the butt. It seems like almost like an instant gratification type of moment.
Sure.
Oftentimes involves maybe eating, drinking, doing those things on vacation, which can't blame anybody for doing. But I think that both you and myself can speak to this because, of course, we've done it too. I remember, especially, and maybe talking from an older point of view, because when I was younger, I definitely, we didn't use that expression, but we were, living our best life. Ultimately, there's a price. I think that there's a price to pay for that, whether it's physically, emotionally, financially. There's always going to be a price tag attached to your behaviors. And it seems to me that the living your best life behavior is oftentimes attached with a negative price tag. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's almost like, maybe this will make sense. It almost sounds like a way of justifying their actions or like trying to legitimize them. That, I think that I would like to think, at least for the most part, that you and I are a little bit more in a position to, like, when we go out and if we were to have desserts with dinner, I guess we'll just use it as an example. I don't think that we would be taking pictures and living our best life and sharing it with the world, because we're going to enjoy it in the moment, and it's not something that's done on a often basis. So I don't think either one of us do it and have a sense of guilt behind it. and we're not trying to justify it to anybody. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, let's be perfectly clear. If there's going to be any pictures taken, it's going to be coming from you and not from me, for starters. I don't do the selfies. I don't do the food pictures when we're out, any of that. You don't either, but especially with the food. But I think it goes even beyond. I think that feeds into the problem even more, is when people are living their best life through social media.
Yeah.
Personally, my BS radar always goes on. I can't help but to think, and maybe this is a character flaw in me, but I can't help to think, liar. That's the first thing I think of, is like, because all of my, the times that I enjoy, and if I'm at a concert or I'm somewhere, living my best life, the last thing I'm thinking about is taking out my camera, taking a picture, and posting it for the most part, because I'm in the moment enjoying it. And to me, it always seems like a great overcompensation, which I think is kind of what you were alluding to, is that projection is an overcompensation, and maybe even trying to put greater value on whatever it is that you are doing. And it's the feedback that you get from that, the likes, the follows, the comments, whatever it is, that actually ends up being the true value of that event or that thing that you are doing, not the actual act itself.
Sure.
The event is secondary to the response that you're looking from it. That's one way I see it. And I can't help but to think, A, I'm not buying it. B, if you, especially when it comes to like food and drinking, especially if it's somebody that is maybe struggling with their health, their fitness, staying on track with goals. And oftentimes you will see people as part of their social media persona, and I'll call it a persona because oftentimes there's a great disconnect between the persona and the reality of the person, is that I don't believe that. I think that they have goals to be,
of course,
healthier, physically fit, and maybe be more consistent with exercise routines and habits, and could be anything.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is not moving themselves toward that goal. And as you already said, rather than acknowledging that, it just gets chalked up to the YOLO or living your best life, and it becomes a justification.
Sure. And, I'm going to use myself as an example because it's me. And that's just seems like where it's fair to put it. In the last podcast, we talked about kind of the unhealthy habits that I had before, basically what I like to call getting my shit together, to all my people, like before I got my own together. We, like I said, we did the bread bowls, we drank a bottle of wine, we were eating Sour Patch Kids. And I thought that, and it wasn't so much, I don't think that it wasn't social media. It wasn't a social media living my best life, but it was in real life. I was telling myself that I was living my best life, that I was doing all the things that I wanted to do and enjoying them freely. And in the meantime, before I was out, or, if I even went to the events or, things like that, I was in fitting rooms or getting ready for the evening, and I was crying because I was uncomfortable with how I felt. I was uncomfortable with what I saw. And so it was really ended up being just a total facade, because I was trying to act and tell myself like, I feel great and everything's wonderful. And in reality, I was making poor choices that affected my immediate feelings, emotions, and everything else. And then everywhere there in between, when you're not, again, I can say this as somebody who's been in this position, when you're not in a place of health, physically and especially mentally, and when you come from that place, you can tell yourself whatever you think that you want to tell yourself to justify the things that you're doing, whether it's drinking, eating, going out, staying out too late, spending your money frivolously, whatever be the case. You give yourself the justification, but the point of all of that is when it comes down to it, the person that's reflecting back at you in the mirror is not where you're actually happy. And I don't think that most people that are living their best life are actually living their best life. And I think that there are a lot of, and I know, for myself personally and having those experiences, I'm sure there are times that I missed out on opportunities and experiences and, things along the way with that, because I think where I was trying to pretend that I was living my best life, I was actually my own biggest deterrent in standing in my own way from finding, living, breathing, and actually being in a place of happiness.
I'll take this opportunity to throw myself under the bus a little bit. I made a video maybe a month ago, and I talked about, and Jill, the picture I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. I do. That's a good one. That is ripe.
We'll see. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, I do.
You're so handsome.
Yeah, thanks. I do have to remember to take a picture of that picture and post it because I think it's hilarious. Now I think it's hilarious, but at the time I was devastated. So the way this story goes is, at the time I was living my best life, and we're going back maybe 1999 or somewhere around there.
You were partying like it was 1999.
I was partying like it was 1999. So going back about 20 years ago, I was not a trainer. I was not in the fitness industry. I was playing in a band at the time, pretending to be a rock star, working, construction jobs, all that stuff. And I was on vacation. And I remember I tipped the scales. Now you gotta remember, I'm not that tall. I was not exercising. I tipped the scales at about 200 pounds. And on my frame, without exercising, an untrained 200 pounds, I looked like a fire hydrant. It was not a good look at all. So we went to this all-inclusive vacation. We did what you do on all-inclusive vacations. We ate and drank and didn't sleep. And, in the picture, I'm smoking a cigar. The pictures come back, and we're going through all the pictures. And there's one of the guys on the vacation standing there. And of course, I'm in the picture, and I didn't recognize myself. I saw the picture, and I'm like, okay, there's Jerry, there's Jay. Who's the fat guy in the picture? Literally, that was in my head. It was me, and I couldn't. And I'm like, oh, whoa! And I'm sunburned, and my guts blown out, and just terrible. My head looked like a basketball. I have a pretty round face to begin with, but it was a complete and utter disaster. And I believe those pictures, we were looking at them on a Sunday at my mom's house, Sunday dinner, and Monday it was boom, get the gym membership. The ship was going sideways. I mean, I remember it was terror, because I remember like, oh my God, I'd be in my 20s. I don't even think I was 30 years old. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen when I'm 40? I'm going to be a disaster. It was, and it was a process. It didn't change overnight. I was basically starting over again. I mean, I've always worked out on and off and had gym memberships, blah, blah, blah. But it was like, holy cow, we gotta.
If that's accurate, you were only 26. You were in the mid-20s even.
Yeah, it was bad. I might have the year by a couple years or whatever, but it's
partying like it's 1999 sounds good anyway.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah,
so that
I know.
So you know.
No, I don't mean that. I mean,
like, I saw the picture. So I will get the picture. I will post the picture because everyone will get a laugh out of it.
Yeah.
But that was the result of living what I thought was my best life. And it was the aha moment. A lot of times people have those aha moments. That was clearly an aha moment for me. But with all that being said, it wasn't for years after that it was a slow change at the beginning, and it didn't happen overnight. And there were I was never as bad as that again. That was the worst. But it wasn't a straight line down or up, rather, to getting in shape and healthy and all that.
Oh, absolutely.
But two more points on that is all of that living my best life for those first few decades definitely I'm 100% convinced that there was damage done to my health, in the sense that for me to lose weight, it's tough. It's very, very tough. I definitely think that I probably built up some insulin resistance in that time period. Definitely created more fat cells in my body over that time period. And had I not done that, because I was always, I wouldn't say lean, but I was just, the typical, fit average kid, And I think that by really blowing myself out like that, it made it harder for me down the line. For me to get into shape, I have to work for every little, progress that I have to make, dieting or exercise-wise. Nothing comes easy for me.
Yeah.
The other thing is that both you and I never claim, and I don't think anybody should think, that we are saints as far as our diet and lifestyle either. So we're not
I was just talking about cookie season just ending.
Yeah, I mean, we're not coming from a point of, I think people think that we eat and do better than we actually do. They have a misconception that we don't ever, eat a piece of pizza or have a beer. Couldn't be further from the truth. Are we consistent? Absolutely. But if I was probably as consistent as most people think, then I would probably be, 5% body fat, which I'm not.
Right. Sure.
So there's a difference. You don't have to give everything up, and you shouldn't look at it like a life sentence that you're trying to regain your health and wellness.
It's a perfect segue for one of the things actually that I wanted to say. Hold on one sec, because I just want to jot down one note, so I don't forget this other point, because I will if I don't. All right. So with what you were just saying, you see these memes all the time that's like, pizza tastes better than skinny feels, or whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. And I think that that's why and where people get this idea, exactly what you were just talking about, that they have to be 100% perfect all the time. You can still have a goal and work towards a goal and be able to get to your goal while still having sensible enjoyment of the foods and things that you like within reason. And you have to keep in mind the context of your goals and how long you are expecting to be able to get there. But, I just had a conversation today. Somebody sent me a message telling me that they were passing up, they're one of our lean programmers. they are passing up, I think, one of their favorite burger places today at work. They had like a food truck there. And I said, you know, you're doing a great job. That's not going to go anywhere. You're eventually going to be able to enjoy that again. We are just right now just catching a momentum because tomorrow is only the beginning of week 2. Let's try to get and build a good momentum and keep the focus on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And also too, in building the confidence and being able to say like, yes, I can do this. I don't need to have X, Y, and Z. I can do this for throughout the week. And then maybe on a Saturday night, on a date night, maybe we'll grab that burger from that place. But it doesn't have to be an all or nothing mentality, but we also have to be reasonable in what we're doing. So I think that that's part of where this whole living your best life. All right. I'm not saying don't live your best life. I'm saying if you're living your best life, really, when it comes down to it, living your best life doesn't need to revolve around food or alcohol or drugs or whatever else anybody is doing. There's so many more experiences that you can have that have nothing to do with any of those things that are negatively impacting your health.
Yeah, I think it just becomes a matter of definition and of, like you said, what living your best life is.
Sure.
Unfortunately, a lot of it is attached to what I would call nihilism, where you're just, it's self-destructive behavior. Now, some people can absolutely live their best life incorporating some self-destructive behavior, and as long as everything, most of the time, everything's intact and moving along perfectly, and you go on vacation, you step out, you're in Jamaica, you're going to drink the rum, you know what I mean?
Right.
And still live your best life. But the point is, when it's over, and you get back to reality.
Right.
And obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think a lot of times people, like you said, are either afraid to pass on opportunities to go out, to party, to eat, to drink.
They have FOMO.
Yeah, they have fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could just be a matter of discipline. They lack the discipline to pass on things. And I mean, I know, and anybody that knows you or I, there's plenty of things that, I'm absolutely willing to say no to. And no, it's a no for me, dog. I can't, because I can't. It's not even sometimes that I don't want to. It's just, I'm not willing to pay that price. Or there might be something, especially around the holidays, Thanksgiving. I know every Thanksgiving, I'm going to allow myself some beverages. I'm absolutely going to want to eat on Thanksgiving, that I'm not going to deprive myself of. So leading up to Thanksgiving, I can't afford to, physically, I can't afford to be letting myself go, because then I'm not going to feel good about myself about piling in extra food and drinks, and I'll probably actually just ruin the experience for me. And I just don't have that much leeway. If my diet is off a little bit, whether it's it affects me or mentally affects me, I just don't have that leeway. And a lot of, I think more people are like me and have that same issue than rather are the type of person that can get away with a lot. And life's not fair. I mean, some people can get away with that. Some people can, go out all the time and it doesn't seem to affect them at all. That's not me. That's not most people, in my opinion. And you have to be honest with yourself which camp you fall into.
Right.
I think that's a big thing. It's just owning up to it. And you hear people, so-and-so is does this, so-and-so does that, and they look great. And I just look at it.
Not you.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Life's not fair.
Yeah,
And
that's one of the things where it's like, you know, it's unfortunate that everybody isn't that lucky, but you know, you gotta deal with the cards in your hands, and you can't be trying to draw. I mean, it's not
can't put a
possible, and it's
circle
not
in a
going to
square.
happen. And you know, right, and you know, I think also too in that whole we've talked about it for so long, just explaining to people how they have to pick their battles and take their shots in regards to you know, what they're going to do. You can't go out for happy hour every day and be successful. You can't. It's just, if you have a goal and you want to get there, you can't go out for happy hour every day. And there are not too many people that I know that don't have some kind of repercussions or negative feelings from that. I don't mean happy hour. I just mean just anything in regards to this whole, you know, your whole best life thing. And that might not be something, it might have nothing to do physically, you know, even when because I've posted pictures of before when I started and everyone was like, well, you were beautiful either way. Well, number one, I didn't feel it. So that's really at the end of the day, what matters is it doesn't matter what anybody else tells you. It's about how you feel. Number one. Number two, aside from the physical aspect of it, and aside from the chaos that was probably happening with my internal organs and everything there, you hear people who deal with anxiety, and I'm not saying at all that this is the end all or be all end all, but I highly recommend to people who are dealing with those circumstances that they consider taking a look at their nutritional habits, because I know for myself, even after, and I know that it happens because it happens anytime that I do it, but from an emotional standpoint, I know personally that after cookie season, Christmas, and you know, having a couple extra days where I take a couple, you know, you take those couple extra shots, or not literally shots, but the experiences of eating kind of outside of the realm of our normalcy. And I can feel it physically, I feel it mentally, and I can feel it emotionally. So I know for me, that's something that it doesn't necessarily have to be about that. It's about your mental health as well, and how you're serving yourself there.
You know what I tend to come across a lot is, and I'm sure you've probably seen this too, is you might have somebody that's trying to, you know, really get themselves on track. They're doing well, they're being consistent, and they have a, you know, they have a slip up of, say they went and ate something that they normally wouldn't, like you said, and they had a negative response from it. They might post it on social media, and a bunch of responses will come in and like, oh, don't worry about it. You deserve to eat this. You deserve that. And you shouldn't deprive yourself of X, Y, and Z. You only live once. What's the big deal? All that, the encouragement of the bad behavior. Bad
Right.
might not be the right word, but it was obviously whatever they did affected them negatively, because otherwise they wouldn't have been complaining about it. But then the peanut gallery comes in encouraging the negative behavior. And that kind of, you know, I don't see, I really don't, I don't understand that. I don't understand the person the person that would react that way, like to tell somebody, here's a person trying to do better, you know, a little upset with themselves that they made a mistake. You know, of course, you know, you want to be like, okay, we move on. You know, it's
Sure.
not the end of the world. But to pile on and encourage more of that, you know, what is obviously affecting the person in a negative way, that I don't
Yeah.
understand. I guess I do understand it. I think the person commenting, I think they are doing that in a way to justify their own actions, because they probably act the same way on a more consistent basis. Like, oh, it's fine, I do it. You know, everyone, you know, you only live once, and all that. that kind of drives me nuts. Excuse me, drives me nuts.
Sure, but I mean, yeah, it could partially be that. And I guess, I mean, really also in a sense, I mean, sorry, I'm just cracking myself up in my head. So what does one say to something like that? Like, wow, you're a real jerk. You really messed that up. Like,
Well, no,
do you know what I mean? I know
no,
you've been, I know
you can either say,
not to say that, but you know, I guess I feel like there's got to be a middle ground of an appropriate response, because you don't want to encourage it, but you also don't, you know, I mean, there's got to be, I think, a way of being like, you know, and I tell my people this all the time. I tell them, I go, turn the page and move on.
yeah,
It is what it is. It's done. It's over with. You're working hard. Jump back on the train.
Yeah.
But it's funny because can you imagine if, I don't know, just there's sometimes that I can just imagine being like, well, you know, and Home Alone, where he's like, well, look what you did, you little jerk. If that was the response instead of the sympathizers, you know.
I think a lot of times too, people who see somebody that has gotten themselves, somebody that was maybe got themselves out of shape, you know, and then got themselves into really good shape. So like somebody like myself, as I was referring back to that picture where I was a complete shipwreck. And then, so I, you know, kind of got myself together a little bit and got away from that. So I know what it takes for me to keep some semblance of order with my body. And
Sure.
if I want to get into a little better shape, I know how much harder it's going to get. And then there's, you know, you have to decide, you know, what are you willing to sacrifice, do,
Yeah.
you know, is it going to be track your food every day? Do I need to be, you know, 10% body fat year round, or, you know, am I good in the middle teens, or do I need to be single digit? You know, is there, and there's a price to that sometimes too. Sometimes you just don't feel good.
You don't.
You
I
know,
mean, at least from my own experiences, I know that I did not.
Well, girls are a little different too. Girls are always going to carry a little higher body fat percentage generally, but there's but you get to know yourself well enough. You know, there's an understanding, and I would know for myself, if I want to get leaner, I know what I have to do. It's just a matter of then, am I willing to do it? But I don't have any illusions. This is the difference. I have no illusions about what needs to be done.
And what it takes, right?
And what it would take. And if I was miserable enough where I am now, which I'm not, I'm very happy where I'm at. But if it was bugging me, and I was waking up every day, it was weighing on me and grating on me, then I'd have to, I wouldn't have a choice other than to dig my heels in and start working my way through it to get to where I would be happier.
Sure.
So I think, but that would be my default mode. It wouldn't be to just say, well, this is the way it is. I'm not meant to be, you know, leaner. I'm not meant to be
Z, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just not meant to be. So forget it. Let's just go the other way and just start and become nihilistic, because it's too hard to get there. Sure. And I think that's common. Where common might not be the right word, but I think that happens where people get to a point where it just becomes hard. The work becomes hard.
Sure.
They don't want to. I'm not talking about just giving up the happy hours or the weekends. And a lot of times it can just come down to a weekend. You know, you can be on track all week and you're not on the weekend, and it's enough to make you break even and not make progress, or maybe just move you back a little bit. And that little bit every week, before you know it, at the end of 6 months, it's 6 pounds.
Yeah.
You know,
it all starts to add up.
And you might, you might not be able to sustain, you might not be an every weekend person. You might have to cut it down to once every 3 weeks, once a month, so there's that discipline, but eventually even discipline isn't going to be enough. And I think sometimes you have to change your environment. And that becomes scary for people. And it should be scary, because that's not an easy thing to do. Because a lot of times that might mean, that can be something. I'll give you an example. I'll use myself as an example. I used to attend bar. I used to have a couple different places once in a while, just as side jobs, extra money in the winter, whatever, as a lot of people do. Some people, it's their full-time job. They make a living doing it, and a good one too at that. But I remember, again, living my best life. Bartending can be a lot of fun, and I'm just like, I can't. My clothes aren't fitting right. I feel like garbage. This is not going. I'm going in the wrong direction. And it was working out at the time, and I'm not sure. I might have even been training people at the time. But I said, that's it. I can't drink behind the bar anymore. I'm not going to do it, because once you get going, and especially if it's a Friday night, it can spiral out of control pretty quick. So not drinking. It was a Saturday. I remember there's a group of girls at the end of the bar. It wasn't real busy, but they're doing shots. They're having fun. They're living their best life. So I would serve them, and then I would kind of make my way down to the other end of the bar, giving them their space. They're having their fun. They'd come down, and they would always ask me, do you want to have a shot with us, drink with us? No, thanks. I'm good. Blah, blah, blah. So then they finally call me down one more time. I'm like, another round? They're like, no, we got a question for you. I'm like, well, what's up? They're like, do you have any personality at all? And I'm like, because I knew it, because I was that bartender that was just a bump on the log behind the bar, because I was probably miserable because I wasn't drinking normally. And I realized this gig's no fun unless you're partying with the customers. It's not a fun gig. And so I apologized. I said, listen, I've been sick. I lied. I'm on antibiotics. I can't drink. Let me buy you guys a drink, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. That was I think it was my last day. I put my 2 weeks notice in. I said, I can't do this. I can't do both. I had to change my environment. Right. And I never attended bar again after that.
I think that there goes, just in regards generally to happiness overall, I think that that's a pretty, a bold acknowledgement for somebody to make, because you hear about people, and let me just say this very clear, I'm not telling anybody to go and quit your jobs. Don't put that on me if you go and do it. But if you're that miserable,
you might have to. No, I disagree.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. I disagree with her.
Yeah. But if you are that miserable, to where your job is ruining your life, that's YOLO. You got to go find something that's going to make you, so you're not coming home every day feeling like you need to drink because of your job that's supposed to be giving you financial support and stability.
Yeah.
And now you're blowing it all on booze, probably feeling like crap.
Well, it's not even drinking the financial, but what it's doing to your.
Of course. Oh my God, absolutely. And then you wake up the next day. I know, even if I only have 2 drinks, I wake up the next day and my body knows it. It does. And beyond that, my body really knows it. But I mean, so that goes for anything. That's your circle of friends. It's an unfortunate circumstance. I know myself along the way, it's happened, and I've lost friends that were very close to me. And it was a situation that it unfortunately had to happen, because we were no longer serving each other and going in the same direction. I guess is the best way to put it. We weren't going in the same direction any longer. And while I, always wish the best for those people, what their plans were for life and what mine were not going in the same direction. They were a little bit more focused again on the parties and that kind of thing. And I was trying to get myself together. And so, I mean, it was a matter of circle of friends. I, like you, I mean, I was working at Olive Garden and training, and it was along the same lines of things of, you know, I had to then make a decision because it got to a point where that job was making me miserable. The people that I was surrounded with were very good, but they were not heading in a similar direction. And I think sometimes absolutely always being surrounded by like-minded individuals, whether it's at job, your circle of friends, whatever be the case, that's what's going to help you get and going with a good momentum where you want to go. People can do it themselves, but they're more likely to do it, more likely to be successful, and there's a higher rate of accomplishment when they have people that are also standing in their corner and going in that same direction. So it's not a matter, it is the environment, but it's not just literally that physical place, but also everybody and where you put yourself.
So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of putting my time frame, together in my head. And at the time when I was bartending, at that time, I was training. I used to train out of my house, and then eventually I went to Gold's Gym and so on and so forth. But at the time, I was dating a girl who was also a bartender. She bartended at the same place. So as I got more and more into the training and away from the bartending, and I stopped bartending, so you can imagine the change in the schedule.
Dynamic, right? Of the relationship even.
Yeah, because now I'm right from the get-go. I was always, once I started training, I was early mornings. You know, I got used to it. Once I got used to it, now prior to that, I was bartending, I was playing in a band, so I was night owl. So and she was a bartender, night owl. And then schedules, boom, they flip. Obviously, I'm not bartending. I'm not going out as much. I'd still go out a little bit, but if I had to get up in the morning, I was working weekends. So there's this real different, dichotomy. This is this change going on.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. She told me, she goes, that job, especially once I got into the gym, then I got even busier because it was tough training out of my house because it's tough to get clients. I didn't have ads in papers, and there was no Facebook, and I think I just got a cell phone. But once you're in a gym, it's like, I remember going, oh my God, this is going to be easy. There's people in and out of here. You know, it's going to be way, way easier than what I was dealing with. So I took on a lot of appointments and stuff, and she told me that job, and I thought I'm doing good for myself. Oh my God, things are going good. She was, that's the worst thing that ever happened to you. I was like, what? Because it was taking away from
the relationship,
fun, the party, and and everything. And so obviously that didn't last much longer after that. But to hear that, like, this is the worst thing that ever. I thought I'm getting healthier. I'm getting up early and working and trying to. So that was right.
Just a matter of perspective.
But there had to be a change of environment. That's a big change. Right. You know, you got to. Mm-hmm. You got to go. I mean, or I had to go. I mean, it ended. You know, but sometimes that's what it takes. And thank God it did. And nothing against her. It's got nothing to do with that. But I mean, if I didn't do that, I don't know where I would be. You know, I certainly wouldn't be with you. So,
right. So thank God for that.
Thank God for that. But I mean, health-wise, you know, who the heck knows what would have happened? And I think that can be scary for, you know, people can get disoriented when relationships change, jobs change, like you mentioned, change of friends, your social circle change. And it did. My social circle changed immensely. The people that you're not hanging out, the guys in the band. It's, you know, I went this last Christmas, I was shopping. I think it was Christmas Eve. I ran to the mall. I had to run to the mall for last minute gifts, Christmas Eve, Galleria Mall. You know, run around like a chicken with my head off. It's, what do you call it, was open? Jack Astor's. I run into Jack Astor's. I said, I'm gonna rip back a Guinness before I finish the shopping. And a friend of mine was still bartending there. He has a job at UB, he does real well for himself. But he always kept his, you know, one night a week or whatever it is. I'm talking since the mall was open. He said he worked there since the mall was open. So what is that, maybe? Oh God, that's got to be, what, 25 years? Whatever, you know. I don't know if you, yeah, you know, I think I was around 16. It's got to be 30 years. The mall's been open for over 30. Anyway, he's still bartending there. So I was the first person in because it was Christmas Eve. He's like, oh my God, you know, we haven't seen each other in forever. So he's like, and he starts, do you remember, you know, this and that? And we used to be in there all the time. We used to party at that place all the time. And I'm just like, hey, I don't see those guys anymore. No, I don't see those guys anymore. But he sees me on social media. He knows what I do. And he's, you know, but that was a completely, you know, it was a survival move. It was a survival move. I wasn't going to make it if I didn't change. Not only from a career standpoint, I really think my body was telling me, this isn't good. You know, you're not going to make it. Or you're going to, you know, I've seen people in my life and seen people that I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to be that unhealthy. It just looks, they look tired. They look beat up. Yeah. They don't look vibrant.
They don't light up. You can see as people start to get healthier, you can see the light come back into their eyes. Yeah. And I know that sounds crazy, but you know, one of my good friends she just put up this post, so I'm sure that she would attest to this as well. But she started, and I would say within the last year or so, she put a side-by-side of her before and after. And in that before, she's smiling. And if you didn't know any better, then at the time, she looked happy, right? For all intents and purposes. But the way she is just like absolutely glowing and shining right now, her eyes just are lighting up in a completely different way. Like she truly, genuinely looks a different happy that I think that she thought that she was before, because she started making healthier changes and she started living, you know, a healthier lifestyle. And I think she's also somebody too that I know practices a lot of the self-care techniques. And so I know that came into play. And I think that she's done a lot of personal growth over the last year and really taking the time to focus on herself. And she really, there's no other way to say it. She just lights up completely differently.
Yeah, I think you see that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I think also too, like just in kind of talking about that growth, you know, you hear, and I've even said it before too, even the person that I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I think really when it comes down to it, I think maybe living your best life is taking the opportunity to use the years to have like good positive experiences, but also grow and develop into being a better version of yourself. Not saying that who an individual is or was before isn't enough. And I think that that's where people really get confused. I think about some of the terms, you know, when people are like, it's gonna be the same old me, you know, New Year, same me, that kind of thing. Cause that was something that obviously with the New Year was recently on my mind. And I sometimes think that people maybe don't necessarily have the right perspective when it comes to that, because nobody's saying that somebody needs to change their good qualities. But I'm also not going to be oblivious, even for my own self, that I have characteristics that could use some improvement. And so does everybody.
Everyone.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that being able to admit or acknowledge and admit that and find tactics and techniques to make some progress with that, I feel like that's when you're really living your best life, because you're turning into and becoming, you know, the individual that you're supposed to be. And it has nothing to do, living your best life has nothing to do at the end of the day with your consumption of food or alcohol, I guess.
I think the last thing I'd like to pin on the conversation is there seems to be a little bit of a trend within our industry amongst the people that work in the industry, not just the people that participate, the people that go to classes and hire trainers. I'm talking about the trainers and the class instructors themselves, who seem to perpetuate this idea of, you know, live your best life and you don't have to worry about and don't be concerned with how you look, feel, and perform, which is it's 180 degrees opposite of what we promote is, you know, how do you look, feel, and perform? That's what we do. We try to get people to improve on those three aspects of their life. And that covers health, falls right in there. But there seems to be a trend where people are, and the pendulum always swings, you know, it swings real hard one way, and then it swings, there's always a counter movement to it. But we're maybe a few years back, people were really, I would say back when even paleo and CrossFit were all the rage, and the pendulum was swinging real hard one way. The visceral
we're coming
reaction
back the other way now.
Yeah, it's almost full swing the other way, where you see things like for years now, where a lot of times you have like the fitness studios doing yoga classes in bars, you know, and it's wine with, after class have wine and champagne, and those are just little things. And there's nothing, I'm not saying that that's the worst thing in the world, and you can absolutely pair things and have fun. So, but there seems to have been, like, that is almost like the backlash, the beginning of some of the backlash to the pendulum swing going a little too hard one way, where, you know, oh, don't take this so seriously, incorporate things that would traditionally not be paired with health, fitness, and nutrition. And then you also have the, you know, the instructor, the trainer themselves encouraging that YOLO lifestyle, and then it as a business model even. So people say, well, yeah, I would. That sounds like something I can get behind it. Well, they know, they're a trainer, they work in the fitness industry, and if they say it's okay, even if they're fooling themselves, even as a client, you're fooling yourself, but you're just like, I either don't have it in me right now to focus and get better, so I'm going to go this route and go into this business model that's going to allow and encourage, or at least not discourage, what I would call the bad behavior. You see a lot of that. And I would also go as far to say that the trainers, whether it's business owners, whether it's class instructors, the people that generally perpetuate that line of thinking, I don't buy it from them either. Any more than I buy it from the client. I don't. No,
not even a little bit.
No, I think
they're actually worse, because I think that it's worse because they are promoting an image, and it's like hypocrisy. You know, I saw somebody put up a post talking about YOLO and how comfortable they are and how happy they are here and this, that, and the other thing. And I kid you not, it was within a week that they were putting up a post about how they haven't been happy with their body and that they're uncomfortable with where they're at, and they just want to be honest with people. Yeah. And I was just like, that's not a place that is not, let me also say, it's not from a place of judgment, because I get it. I've been in the place too where I haven't been comfortable. You know what I mean? Sure. So, and I think that that's great that they acknowledge it, but you can't be on both sides of the fence. You can't be promoting and telling people that it's okay for them all of the time, just enjoy your life, and not, and at least at the very least, not expressing the fact that there needs to be the actual balance within this balance beam. You can't try to balance the balance beam and be one-sided. And more often too, the trainers that are in a position of health, they can be categorized as healthy. They're not they are not living their best life as often as the people who think they are living their best life are doing.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
They've done the same thing, where they have found the method of balance and the means. They've learned themselves to take and pick their shots. They don't do it all day, every day. They're not eating bagels with cream cheese for breakfast, fast food or takeout in the office for lunch, and then going out for happy hour, ordering out meals and having drinks and this, that, and the other thing. They're not, it's not happening.
Or another side to that argument is it's possible that maybe they are, but are they telling you about the other dirty little secret of the business, which is the drugs and the performance enhancing drugs?
Sure.
So a lot of times people can get away, and I know plenty of them that can get away with eating garbage food, not having a great diet, not exercising and training real hard, and still making progress and losing weight and gaining muscle. But they're never going to tell you about,
well, of course not.
Yeah, the boatload of drugs that they're taking. And this is true. I would never out anybody, but it's just, I've been in the position a long time, and
you could rattle them off right now. I mean,
some are friends, and it's fine, it's cool.
And females,
male, female, yeah, absolutely.
It's not just men. that's the other thing too. It's crazy. It's not just men, it's women too. And it's like,
listen, I remember being in a meeting, and it was trainers. It was all the gym I was at. It was all the heads of the department, the trainers, and so from all the different gyms, and we're sitting in this conference room. There were gym owners, gym managers, all sitting there, and everybody they're kind of like eating lunch and drinks, and I'm looking at what everybody's eating. I'm like, and I wasn't, either was my boss at the time. I think we probably had like a bottle of water, and everyone's just pounding crap food. It was so odd, and like energy drinks and like Diet Cokes and all this stuff. And I'm just like, wow, you would think it was just, to me, it seemed ironic that you had all these fitness people, and it just looked like a smorgasbord of garbage that everybody was eating. And I remember we were talking, I don't remember the exact, if I think about it, I can probably put it together, but it's not that important. But I brought up the point of the gyms don't have a sound nutrition plan or nutritional advice, that if they go into this gym, or even in the same gym, every trainer is going to give them their own take on what is a healthy diet. You might have a vegan, you might have, somebody that's low carb, somebody thinks that, low fat is the way to go. And my point was that there should be some structure as to what is some basic structure to nutritional protocols based on goals. Obviously, everything's going to have to be individualized, but there should be a starting point. And
that top has got to go at least. Like, wouldn't that be like at least maybe step one? Like
anything, and it don't even have to be my idea, but there should be, so if somebody comes to me or they go to the other trainer, they're kind of getting the same information. Because, I mean, that's the problem out there to begin with. There's so much different information and different takes on things. People get very confused because, and rightfully so. Yeah. So let's not feed into that confusion, and let's get some basics together. And somebody from one of the other gyms just shoots me down and like, everybody knows what they're supposed to be eating. Like, it was a dumb thing to say. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, just look it up online. That was his answer. I said,
well, we've known people to do that too.
I went like this. I started to get up because I was like, I was starting to lose it. And the owner of my gym just goes like this, puts her hand on my shoulder, like, just settle down.
Sit down. Sit down, Waldo.
And the big head honcho owner is like, let's take a break. Let's call the meeting here. But the irony was, he pulled me out. He goes, Jeff, let me talk to you. And there was another guy there, and he offered me a promotion because he's like, you're right. I know you're right, but what you're looking to do, it's not the right time. He gave me some blah, 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 blah. He said, you're right. But he ended up wanting me to take on this sales position. Because he's like, you're obviously not afraid to speak your mind. You're not afraid to confront people. I was like the new guy, you know. And I didn't end up taking it because I thought the nutrition aspect was more important. And under the assumption and the promise that this guy was going to put me in a position to try to rework the nutrition aspect of the training of all the gyms. And it never happened. It was, so that was to me, I felt like it was a kick in the gut that
right.
He just wanted to use me for sales. And when I wouldn't do the sales, then I was useless to him. But anyway, I think that as you said, the trainers that struggle with it themselves at least should have the decency to not feed into the problem.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's almost
really
like if
think though that they maybe don't understand it themselves.
Oh, of course, and I think right. I don't think that people have self-awareness most of the time.
Sure.
I don't think people realize. Remember, social media. Some of these people are younger and have grown right. up in the social media environment, where right. I think it might even be an advantage at this point in my age that because I know I'd rather not say on certain things, you just don't say anything.
Right.
There's always that saying, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that's the way I feel about it. If you're not going to contribute positively to it, or right. if you're not in a mental state to contribute right. positively to it, stay out of the way. Get out of right. the conversation. You're not contributing to a solution. All you're doing is perpetuating a problem.
The problem, right.
And so to not seem so harsh about it, again, if you're going to take a class somewhere, anywhere, it doesn't matter where it is, but if you're there to take a class and that person maybe does live that YOLO life and promote it, you're there for the class. It doesn't matter anyway. You're going there, you do you, they do them, you get what you want out of the class, you get your exercise, you enjoy it, and you wash your, and that should be, I would think, where it ends. What you want to think about is, where are you going to take your nutrition advice from? Where are right. you going to take your training advice from? Probably not that person. You would want to seek somebody that has a level of consistency and at least can keep themselves together, over time. And, and quite frankly, maybe that person just isn't at that point in their life where they can even take on somebody else's problems, whether it's, sure. And again, if they're not going to be honest with themselves about it, you as the consumer, that's shame on you if you choose to do that and invest your time and money into somebody that maybe is not qualified, even if they have the credentials, if they're not at that point in their life where they can even get themselves out of the quagmire.
Right.
And that's just a matter of fact, so I would just be careful who you take your advice from.
I also think too, in this whole podcast, I think that really when it comes down to it is the acknowledgement and the self-awareness that people should have, in really taking into consideration the choices and why you're making them. And, and I guess the very last thing that I have to say, even if you think that you are like, quote unquote, living your best life right now, what's your future going to look like? There's a lot of things that people do, and you hear adults all the time say, I wish that I was a little bit smarter about this when I was younger. I wish that I would have taken better care of myself. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, we have one body. This is the only vessel that we have, and once there's people who very, very unfortunately don't have the blessing of having an extended period to actually, they get sick and they have to deal with illness and sickness, and there's things that can't be, maybe there was no way, and it's, my sister had a brain tumor and the doctor said it was just bad luck. She's fine. I should tell everybody that she's fine now, but there was no rhyme or reason for it. The doctor said that was just bad luck. But for the most part, illness comes and stems from a place. And there's things and precautions and methods that can be considered. And there's so much science out there now that, talks about the nutrition, anything in regards to nutrition. I'm not saying believe all of it, because I also think that there is some misinformation out there too in regards to certain things, but making sure that you're taking care of yourself so that way you don't have to pay later. Just because you don't pay now, there still might come a time that you have to pay, and maybe living your best life is really taking care of yourself now so that your best life can be lived for a longer period of time.
Sure, you can't escape reality.
Truth.
All right, why don't we wrap it up there for today, Jill?
All right.
Okay, guys. So next week we'll announce the winner of the keychain. So don't forget to leave us a review on our Facebook page. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a good week.